I can promise that the hope that they have is the hope that I have, and then all in the club has. So to bring Everton in the top position.
Liverpool 4, Everton 1, and once again Everton ripped to pieces on the counter-attack.
Brighton 3, Everton 2. Bournemouth 3, Everton 1.
Everton's tailspin down the table continues. They are sleepwalking into a relegation battle.
Look at Everton and what they've spent. They've finished 12th in the Premier League, which is nowhere near good enough.
For them to change that and to become, a regular top 6 club again, then of course they need that little bit more success.
You can count on, one hand right now who I would keep, and for the money.
Prime, they're all should be able to make the team better instantly.
Alan coming in, I think, will do that. It's an area that they needed strengthening, and Ancelotti will be pleased to get some of his deals and his players into the club.
I don't think Ancelotti's going to be happy coming in and going, right, congratulations lads, we finished top 10. That's not good enough. They've got to be aiming for the top 6.
So we kick off our Premier League previews talking Everton. Just before we get to our guest, a bit of breaking news from the world of racing. We'll get Lee McKenzie and Rupert Bell on this shortly. But it's been confirmed that with the new government guidelines coming in, racing will return to being behind closed doors from tomorrow onwards. So 3,000 fans at Doncaster today, but the intention to have 6,000 fans at the St Leger Festival from Thursday through Saturday, 6,000 fans each day, is now off the table. Racing will go back behind closed doors from tomorrow. We'll get some reaction to that coming up shortly. But you just heard about Everton. Let's talk some Everton. Delighted to say joining us to do just that from Falcon Blues TV, Dave Johnson is with us. Afternoon to you, Dave. How are you doing, sir?
Afternoon, yeah, I'm not bad, thank you. Been a good couple of days for the Evertonians.
So, we've had these moments before in recent years where the money has been thrown around a little bit, but this feels maybe... Is it fair to say a little more focused than previously?
I think so, yeah. You look at how we threw money about during Ronald Koeman's time, Sam Allardyce's time, and it wasn't really identified as where is the area that we need to improve. We seem to just throw money at number 10s, David Klassen, Wayne Rooney, Gylfi Sigurdsson, 3 players that we couldn't fit into the positions properly. And, we're now up to 2020 and Carlo Ancelotti's in charge, and he's identified now that even though we've had all these players in, it's not been hard to identify it really if you look at it, but he's identified like a midfield needs organisation. We need a solid base to build on, and as I said, last few days have been really exciting for Evertonians.
We'll talk about the players coming in, but it does mean that, all the teams we're going to talk about today, we'll talk about where their kind of expectations are they're going to finish after last season. I feel like the 4 today all are looking to push on and push up. But it does feel like the one thing we do know about Everton now is that squad is huge. So do you think we're going to see a lot of outgoings before we get round to kind of the beginning of October?
I think it's difficult with the large wages and large salaries that some of these players are on. We've tried to offload a lot of them on loan, like the likes of Sandro and things like that, and they all seem to be bouncing back to the club, and because they've not performed as well as we'd have expected them to while on loan, because obviously they haven't done it at Everton. So I think it's all about wages. That if we can shift players off where we can, great. But I think we managed to get at least a dozen off the books early in the season. I think this season is going to be a lot more difficult with the wage demands that some of these players are asking for.
In terms of those players you've brought in, all kind of in and around the midfield area, but 3 very different types of players. Do you imagine that Alan, James Rodriguez, Abdoulaye Doucouré are all starting from day one practically?
I think so. I'm obviously talking for myself and not for everyone, but I'd like to see obviously James playing forward with Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin, and then that allows Doucouré and Allen to play in the midfield. And because we've had 5-6 midfield players last season who just didn't cut it, so it's almost like they're going to have to come in to this side because we need something in that midfield. I keep harking back to it, but that is exactly the crux of Everton's issues last season.
So, from the perspective, so we're thinking James plays a bit further forward. How do you see them lining up then with all these pieces kind of fitting together?
I think I know Ancelotti tried to play a lot of a 4-4-2 last season, but I can almost see personally a 4-3-3 with Alan, Doucouré and possibly Gylfi Sigurdsson or Andre Gomez, whoever's fit and available. And then a 3 of Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin and James on the right.
Yeah. Okay, so, I mean, that feels quite attacking, but I like it. It's quite kind of forward-thinking, maybe, possibly. So, we look at last season, we look at how Everton got on and how much better it was under Ancelotti, but still, you know, there was still plenty of flashes of what you could achieve, and there was also some frustrating moments. I mean, 12th isn't where any Everton fan feels like they should be with the expenditure over recent years, I assume.
No, not at all. And I think, as I said, with Ancelotti identifying where the weaknesses are, and then him and Marcel Brands working together to improve where we've needed, because obviously we've had the 5-6 players that in that midfield last season, and he's starting to fix it with proven class players. Obviously, James and Alan haven't played in the Premier League, but Doucouré knows the league. He's an exceptional player, big, strong talent, and able to do it, and has done it before, which people have seen. Obviously, in that Watford side, he's not been able to do it on the level that he'd like, I suppose. Obviously, when he was looking at other offers for like £60 million bids, I think it was PSG last season who were interested in him. You know, we managed to get him at a knockdown price, and he's willing. From the interview that we saw yesterday, he's ready to come to Everton and show what he can do, and that for me puts me in a lot of confidence for this side as well now.
I guess there's that kind of conversation about how much that it is that it might be a bit of a stepping stone for him, if that's how he's seeing it, and whether Everton fans necessarily mind that. I mean, if you get 2-3 really good years out of him and then, you know, sell him to a big name club, it's not the end of the world, is it?
It's not, because Everton sadly have always been that kind of selling club for, you know, God knows how long. I'd like us to try and cut that out if we can, and have players who are willing to say, no, I want to finish my career at Everton. The season. Hopefully, if this season's a success, and we can finish as high up the table as we can, come away with some silverware for a change, the players say, well, hang on, Everton's actually the place to be. And I think that's what Ancelotti and Marcel Brands are trying to put in, and I think that's whole part of the project that they've tried to explain to players, that this is what we want to do going forward. We've got the new stadium coming up. Everton is going to be one of the places that you're going to want to stay, and hopefully that becomes the norm.
So what are the expectations then, Dave, of Everton fans for this season?
Well, as we were just listening in the little clip you showed before, it was, you know, Ancelotti's not come here to sit down and go, okay, 12's good enough for us. He's going to come out and he wants something out of it, especially this season now. I think, for me personally, I want silverware. It's been far too long for Everton to be sitting there with no honours. You know, nearly 3/4 of my life, unfortunately. And you know, a top 6 finish would be brilliant. I think, you know, with Wolves and Tottenham the way they are, they're going to go from strength to strength as well. But I'd like to be competing up there, and then eventually, hopefully, come away with the FA Cup or the League Cup. The League Cup, ideally, because that's just been that albatross that we've had for so long.
Oh.
The silverware or bust, I think, with Everton as well.
All right, well, we've got about 8 clubs saying that, Dave, so we'll have to see how that goes. But look, wonderful stuff. Check out Falcon Blues. Dave Johnson joining us to talk about